You can use this. Respond to yourself. Now, I don't want it to be super sassy. I don't want it to be used as a weapon. Of course, it will be, but it's something I started saying. Um, Respond to yourself. Um, for instance, I was talking to my mom about my desire to drive through Africa and how that would give me some pretty cool footage also for my videos. And she said, "Well, you're in Europe and you've gotten some pretty cool footage there." The implication for me seemed like, you don't need to go to Africa. Europe is exotic enough. You're getting good stuff in Europe, and so that's obviously coming from her fear and her not wanting me to make the trip I'm planning to make through Africa, or I'm hoping to make through Africa. Um, and so I was frustrated, and I didn't want to engage with him. Be like, okay, yes, but Europe and Africa are not the same. Footage from Africa could be more interesting. Number one, and number two, I have footage from Europe, from pretty much all of Western and Central Europe, and some of Southern Europe. So, so with those two main points, the fact that I have footage in Europe has no sort of bearing on whether it's worthwhile to get footage from Africa. I didn't want to engage and respond with that because then what happens is she might just go, okay, and then just move on to just slide to the next ajit, to the next counterpoint. And then we just do that forever. So I knew that she knew that Europe and Africa are obviously and importantly different in terms of aesthetic. And she knows that I have the footage from Europe. Um, to her credit, there was another thread to the conversation. In fact, she had kind of initiated this conversation, and this really is to her credit. This does kind of undermine my criticism here, but she had said, "Hey, I know that photography isn't your focus, but you do have such great photos. It would be so cool to see, you do something with the photos, edit and present them, or do, not necessarily. I don't think she was necessarily saying sell them, but just make something out of them creatively, not financially or statusly." Um, and then we had been already talking about Africa that like from the day before. So I said, by the way, one reason I didn't mention about why I want to go to Africa is because it would be great for a lot of different photo opportunities. And so, yeah. And so then she goes, okay, so maybe this was just me actually. And then she talks about Europe. And I guess she was saying, yeah, I know. But my point is, you don't actually even need to go get more stuff. Look at this cool stuff that you have as far as my photography idea, Eris. Um, but the context is just that. Um, anyway, what stands is respond to yourself. Well, that barely stands. But okay, if you ignore the context and you forgive me and you excuse me for having misreacted and misunderstood what my mother was saying. So remove the context and suppose that she was actually doing what I still swear she often enough does, just to grab any possible reason to introduce more doubt about the Africa trip. She's not even doing that intentionally, but all right. Anyway, remove that or no. Let's suppose that this is an instance of that. And so what ended up happening, we kind of cleared up. I don't think I understood as well as I do now that I had misunderstood, but I understood a little bit that I had misunderstood. But I just kept the focus on the Africa trip and the support that I need from her emotionally, or that I need her to be on board with it. Fuck, this is supposed to be a really quick video. I'm so bad at that. God damn it, this was not supposed to be about my relationship with my mother. Okay, let's just move on to another. Oh, and then anyway, she did respond to herself. She's like, yeah, Africa and Europe. Blah, blah. Okay. The other one is there was a young woman. The young woman who she was involved in one of my videos about one of our its from the book You Are Not So Smart, The Spotlight Effect. She just texted me that she had watched the whole thing, and she said, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so weird. And I was tempted to say, well, that's funny that you say that, because that's kind of the whole point of the video. It's that even if you do weird things, or even if you're weird and that shows, people don't necessarily remember that, didn't even necessarily notice it, or at least not as much as you do. But that's an opportunity for me to maybe say, hey, respond to yourself. And then you can give them a little hint. You say, respond to yourself using the content of the video or the idea of the video. And with it theory, we realize how sort of reasonable of an idea that is. Because if you think of yourself as a single entity, where you produce the things you say, you've thought through them all, and then you produce them, and you know what you're saying, and blah, 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 all this myth, the judge myth and all that. It's hard to see the value in really listening back to what you say or engaging with what you say. Like, why would it be different? I said that, I know what I said. I said that because I think it. So I wouldn't have said it if I could just immediately respond to it. But actually, yes, you would. Because they're the its that produce the thing. There are its that produce a thing, and then there are other its that could have engaged with it, but didn't, because the system is trying to be efficient, economical with its resources. And that's okay. We don't have to second guess. And as Kahneman, from the reading that we did, as he was saying, it would be exhausting. It's just not even possible, let alone feasible, to be constantly second guessing yourself. So your buddy can give you an in livery, a stimulus to wake up those other its, those two its, those system two its, and go respond to yourself. And then you have to have the humility to go, okay, all right, so I said this, and let it slap other its that weren't involved in the initial ex livery. Let it slap other its. Be okay, and you have to feel safe when you're doing this as well, which is why respond to yourself, it shouldn't be used as a weapon, because it has to be just an opportunity for the other person. And the other person really, you, or I keep mixing up the people, but the person who made the initial statement and is now being asked to respond to themselves, that person, they they also need to have just a general sense that that thing came from some of their its, not all of their its. And so just because something came out doesn't mean that they yep it, which means that it's a whole brain approval thing. So let's try that. And you can try that in the comments with me. You put a timestamp. You say respond to yourself. And what would be really great is if I contradict myself in a video, you give me the timestamp where I did the contradiction. You say respond to yourself. We can do that in our language. Anyway, respond to yourself, and then you give me a hint, another time code where I said something that earlier that kind of makes difficult the claim that you first cite or refer to, or a time reference. Respond. How do you say? It's like, think that's it. And then we have to go, it's not again, but back. And then that's a command, which is either maybe like that, maybe. And then respond to yourself. I don't know that anyway, I'll hold on.